Potentially harmful algae is growing in some Minneapolis lakes.
It can be harmful to kids and pets and has been lethal for dogs.
He came running into the vet, and as soon as he got to me, he started seizing as well. It is the most horrific death that you could ever experience. Our dogs did not die peacefully.
Blue baby syndrome and cancer, algal blooms and dead fish, toxic water that impacts both human and animal health. All of these have a common thread: nitrates. Nitrate, a small molecule, is found naturally in drinking water at low levels, and it normally doesn't pose a risk to ecosystem health. However, if contamination occurs and the level of nitrates increase, that can have toxic effects on animals, humans, and the environment as a whole. In surface water, such as lakes and ponds, excessive nitrates can trigger a process called eutrophication, which increases the algal growth, thus impacting animal health and even causing death in some cases. There's also an association between nitrates and adults experiencing headaches, nausea, increased heart rate, and sometimes cancer. In addition to this, infants exposed to nitrates can suffer from blue baby syndrome, which deprives them of oxygenated blood. Untreated, this condition can be fatal. This leads to the question, how are nitrates getting into the water? And why I'm on a farm here? It's due to one thing: the white chalky gold of the agriculture world, artificial fertilizers. Here we have the systems diagram of this complicated issue. But let's break it down to some core components. First, we got the farmers, which of course, you need fertilizer, which will increase crop yield and increase profits, which is undoubtedly good. However, fertilizer can sometimes lead to excess nitrates, which excess nitrates can run off into lakes, ponds, and rivers, which can create the toxic algal blooms, which can lead to wildlife and pet deaths. In addition to this, excess nitrates can also leach into private wells, which can lead to blue baby syndrome and increased toxicity with a risk of cancer. Now, to solve this problem, there's two ways we can go about it. We can either cut the link between the fertilizer and the excess nitrate, meaning that we make sure that we don't put too much fertilizer down. Or we can ensure that the excess nitrate never gets into the water systems.
There are several sustainable agricultural practices that have been proven to reduce the amount of nitrates entering water systems that keep soil healthy and productive and that reduce funds spent on fertilizer. These strategies include cover crops, buffers, precision farming, and bioreactors. We have identified limits to their efficacy and barriers that prevent them from being widely utilized. Time restrictions exist due to unpredictable weather and the need to produce a significant amount of field product in a short season.
So in general, this is what the farmers can do. No one of these practices will really solve the problem, but a combination of them will help us make progress.
That is the voice of Gary Feiereisen. He is an agricultural engineer with the USDA and a professor at the University of Minnesota. He has a PhD in biosystems and agricultural engineering.
And so I put this percent reduction in the nutrient load here. And generally, these practices, the management, we think we can get maybe 10 to 15% reduction if everybody did it the best way. There's still going to be losses because of the biophysics, but we're not going to get 40 or 50% reduction from managing better. We need some of these other practices. The bioreactor, I've done a lot of work with them. We're in the 15 to 20% reduction range with these structural practices. If we do convert land into more perennials, we can get bigger reductions in nitrate losses. But then we begin to take land away from production and food production, which brings in another concern.
A lack of knowledge about these practices lowers the rate of their application. Most notably, cost and risk threatens the livelihood of farmers. We acknowledge this struggle and are pleased to inform you that there are grant programs available to assist you in the transition to sustainable agricultural practices. The Conservation Reserve Program, also known as the CRP, is a program funded by the USDA that pays farmers to devote certain areas of their land to environmental recovery rather than agricultural production. This program helps with water and soil quality and wildlife habitat conservation. The Conservation Stewardship Program, also known as the CSP, is a program that is also funded by the USDA, and it offers money to farmers for increasing their conservation efforts in ways such as using cover crops, reducing fertilizer use, or other farming management practices that benefit the surrounding ecosystems.
To address the issue holistically and to mitigate the negative unintended consequences, we needed to consider the stakeholders involved. Landowners need the help of stakeholders at the international, national, state, and local level for support when they receive pushback from other affected parties. Those who hold the most power and interest are farmers, fertilizer companies, and program funders.
Changing the system can cause unforeseen consequences. Possible unexpected repercussions in our system include a lack of interest from landowners and farmers feeling blamed for being the source of contamination. We acknowledge that you are just one of the many contributors and that you are performing an essential role to feed our citizens. Misunderstanding how an ecosystem functions with the introduction of a new plant or fertilizer can also cause harm to the system. To try and avoid this issue, patience, adequate research, and thorough observations are needed to best understand environmental processes. Additionally, fertilizer companies may experience decreases in revenue and will need to change their business model, but they have ample time to adapt. Loopholes in the programs that allow farmers to obtain funding without fully implementing the sustainable land use practices and lower than expected use of funding in the first place could lead to less funding in the future. Funders can address these risk factors by creating well-advertised, robust programs and implementing monitoring frameworks that ensure proper practice.
To help bridge the knowledge and financial barriers, we have done the research for you and created a how-to tutorial to walk you through the application processes. All of these programs can be accessed on your iOS device, Android, or computer. If you already use some sustainable farming practices such as cover crops but are looking to increase your conservation efforts and get paid to do so, then the Conservation Stewardship Program, or CSP, could be the program for you. During your 5-year contract, you will see improvements to your agricultural operations as well as improvements in the surrounding ecosystems. The CSP will make annual payments to you for implementing these conservation efforts. Additionally, the NRCS offers free technical assistance in getting started with your plan. The first step is to visit the NRCS website, where you will notify a conservation planner of your interest in the program. Go to the website shown on screen, which is also linked below. Find the contact for your local NRCS office by clicking on the link titled Contact Information. You will enter your state and county and then click Search. Call or email the contact person at the office closest to you and let them know of your interest in joining the program, or stop by your local office to meet with a conservation planner. The Conservation Reserve Program, or CRP, is also funded by the USDA and has a similar application process. To apply to a program, you will need to contact your local USDA Service Center. To do this, go to the Service Center Locator tool shown on screen, which is also linked below. Scroll until you reach the state and county drop-down boxes. Select the information for your residence and then reach out to your representative via email or phone. They will walk you through how to apply for their programs. All of the mentioned links are below this video on our webpage.
The presence of excess nitrates in drinking water is a widespread issue that negatively affects the health of humans, animals, and the environment. Luckily, some of the most effective methods to reduce the problem happen at the local level. Helping farmers follow sustainable agricultural practices is one step toward ensuring that all Minnesotans, including farmers themselves, have clean drinking water. We will see the effectiveness of our solution in the number of acres of land that become enrolled in the programs and when nitrate levels lower in private well water. We realize that targeting the agricultural sector only addresses one small piece of the issue. It will take a combination of efforts to address the problem fully, including supporting families that already struggle with contaminated water. If you are concerned about nitrate contamination in your drinking water, contact the MDH for filtration options. For easy access to the links in our presentation, please visit our website.